Yo, what's good, everybody? Bren here. Hope everybody's having an amazing Saturday. I know a lot of people in Europe are probably it's like at night right now. People in the US, it is the afternoon. It is 2 p.m. where I'm at here on the West Coast. But thought I'd rip a stream here on Saturday for a change. It's usually a good time to look at the market in general. The last week, obviously we got this huge move down on Bitcoin and a bounce back kind of today, which actually took back half of the move. um you know Interesting, we'll go over that. But what I really wanted to talk about a lot today, as you can see by the title, is what's up, MKT? I see you in the chat. Before I get started on that, I see a lot of people coming in from the Telegram channel and everywhere else. We're also going to do a USDC giveaway at the end of the stream. So to people in the comments of the original stream tweet here. So shout out to everybody here. Before I get started, MKT, what's up? I see Perlin Peppy in the chat. I think the last stream we did was on Tuesday, and excited to do this one today on Saturday. This on Tuesday of this week, I'm actually going to have on Craig and Greeny. I know a lot of you guys know them. One of the few, Craig obviously, and then Greeny. One of the few two streamers or people on CT are continuing to stream throughout this. Besides Thread Guy and a few others, but um, first of all, hope everybody's having an amazing Saturday. Like I said, it's been a crazy last few weeks. Um, the been doing my best in general to do what I suggest everybody does is not get so caught up in the emotions and the everyday, theories and all this stuff, while still paying attention and still doing what I'm, doing the streams and everything like that. Because during these slow times, it's really easy to drive yourself fucking nuts. There's so many people who say it's over or quitting. You see tweets like this. I saw today. I wanted to bookmark that. This lady here, or Linda, says, regardless of how I feel about it, I've never had so many people I respect tell me I should leave crypto. Um, you're seeing that perspective. You're seeing a lot of people who are long term bullish. To me, I've this is the third bear market I've lived through personally. I started in crypto in 2016, 2017. Probably halfway through the cycle in 2017, actually, and then really that first bear market in 2018, 2019, where everything quieted down. Nobody was talking about crypto. Crypto was still very niche, but there was a few great YouTube channels and still making videos and stuff. Started learning everything I could about crypto, about the technology itself with Ethereum and smart contracts, DeFi, a lot of stuff going on there. Invested a lot of my expendable income into a lot of these coins, where over the next few years I saw them take off 10, 20, 30, 40x. So bear markets, whether they can, it's really easy to get caught up, especially if you felt like you made mistakes. Like even to this bear market, bull market, this last bull market, my third one. um there's still things that I wish I would have done better, taken more profits here or whatever it may be. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is these bear markets in the day to day, they can drive you crazy because it feels like nothing's going on or prices are just going down. But I'm telling you, the investments you're able to make if you do have the dry powder, relationships, all of these different things you're building now, are going to be, you know, what sets you apart from everybody else when it does get kicked up. Because there's going to come a time in the world again where crypto does have some type of mainstream push. Even if it's going to heat back up on crypto Twitter again, but there's going to be a time when there's a mainstream push in crypto, and you'd rather be the guy who stuck around in the bear market and continued. At least I'd rather be the guy that stuck around in the bear market, continue to learn. And what I mean by learning is just what I would do personally. What I've done my first one or two bear markets is pick one or two creators or people that you really trust and you find a lot of value from and you learn from and you like their style of whatever, and just soak up as much as you can from them. Like whether my streams, me personally, to this day, I still learn from a lot of people 10 years in. For example, Benjamin Cowan. Let me see here. And again, everybody who's just hopping in, we are just talking a little bit about the bear market and just kind of my overall thoughts. We are going to do a few things here soon. We're going to go over why exactly I think, and we can do this as a team, we'll investigate kind of why crypto got rinsed so hard versus other markets. And we are going to do a USDC giveaway at the end of the stream to people in the comments of the original stream tweet. I'm going to go ahead and pick it randomly at the end of the stream. So shout out to everybody who's here with us on this Saturday. It's been a quiet last 3 or 4 days in the market, but overall we have a bunch to talk about. So appreciate everybody for being here. Zombo, I see you in the chat. Gold Roger, what's up, dude? Lucky, what's good, gang? How you doing? But yeah, to this day, I still learn from people like Benjamin Cohen. He, he's, to me, obviously, I was, for those of you guys on the stream, at above 81K due to this consolidation. I thought if we did hold above here, we could have shifted back and at least went. Oops. I thought that this consolidation from November to here, if we were to shift above here, could have at least taken us back into the hundreds before we came back down for another dip. But obviously, we sliced right through that 81K low. And people like Benjamin, taught me a lot, even to this day, about the moving averages and different things that I've implemented into my trading and my investing and my charts and stuff. So Benjamin Cohen, Kaleo, a lot of people that I still learn to this day. But to kind of finish that thought, like these bear markets, even though day to day they're agonizing, you just don't know whether it's going to be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, a year that we're going to be in this. But the skills that you build and the friends and the whatever that you make during these times are what separates you from the guy who's just going to join in the middle of the bear or the bull. So shout out to everybody who's here, on the stream, still learning. Again, today we're going to go over kind of what potentially why crypto got rinsed versus other markets. We're going to show us what the charts and these other things are telling us about the next few months, the next few years, and really why I think the next few years, especially, are going to be are going to be kind of what was for the internet like the next few years after the .com crash. I think that's what's coming for crypto in the next few years, where there's going to get true adoption, where people are going to be using the apps, NFTs, all of that stuff. I think just like the internet in the early, 2000s and the late 1990s, the world just wasn't ready for it. But I think the regulation, all this different stuff happening in the background is finally going to push crypto to where the internet was in the late 2000s. So we'll talk a lot about that. Unc Sam says, "Hello everyone, I'm cooked." Yeah, man. I feel you. And also, if you guys will have any chart requests, questions, comments, anything in the chat, I'm going to be looking at that throughout. And Bit Khalif says, "Give me my USDC." Yeah, well, hopefully you're so lucky. Maybe a good sign for what is to come. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and go to the higher time frames. The reason why we start the show off with Bitcoin is because I'm sure there's no denying it now that Bitcoin, the majors, especially BTC, drive the entire digital asset market from crypto to meme coins, obviously, to alts, to ETH, to even NFTs, which we'll also are going to talk about a little bit later in the show. But Bitcoin, like I said, we got this move down here. To me, at that point, after we came down from 120 to 88, there was a lot of signs that it very potentially was just another mid-cycle correction, that we were going to bounce off the 200 daily EMA, or at least down here, and then shift back. At least my base case was at least around 105, 106 before a potential leg down like we got here. We did only reached about 96, 97, which did throw a lot of people off, and then crushed right through that 60K low. Now, where are we now? for Bitcoin. Where does that put us? Does that put us in bear market territory? Could this still somehow be a correction that takes us back to all-time highs in the next few months? To me, in the markets, I've just learned over the last few years is to treat the markets probabilistically, right? It's not about 100% what's going to happen, but I think what the probabilities tell us now, with this correction, is that we very likely are going to be in something that lasts more like 3 to 6 months versus a couple weeks, right? And that's for two reasons. Again, I think um, mostly because unless this is resolved here, this range here, which actually the S&P 500 is coming up pretty hard here. A lot of these, the stock market is in this kind of this range here, and if it does, the stock indexes do break lower here. I think it will take crypto um, lower as well. But I'll tell you, even if we are going to get the bottom here on Bitcoin, what we'd like to see is at least several weeks of just holding this low, whether it be at 61K or whatever, something like this, um, to where we can move lower. And then if we were to move back above this 81K bounce high, at that point, I think there's a good chance that we could recover back above this 81K level. But until we see that, until we see at least a couple weeks of holding this low here, um, I think we're likely creating a structure that we're going to need to be in here for a bit. Um, so that's what I'm watching. I think what's most likely to happen here for Bitcoin is either a slowdown or some kind of continual chop up into the 70s. But in order for me to feel like this is a um, a real low that's going to take us back to all-time highs, um, I'd like to see this form just like every other bottom we've seen form over the last few years on any of these type of corrections, which is again multiple weeks of consolidation, which then shifts back above 81K. Okay, so that's what I think what's going to happen here for Bitcoin is very likely is either continual chop to the upside or some consolidation. And if we're able to hold above the 61K low into like maybe the end of February, mid February, maybe 2 or 3 weeks from now, I think there's a good shot that we could continue to move higher here on Bitcoin. ETH, same kind of thing. We really want to see on any kind of low on anything is holding for multiple weeks, proving that it's a multiple week consolidation. And I think at that point, Bitcoin and ETH could form a base that could take us higher. But if you really look at any of these past corrections, I think there's a good chance people like Benjamin and others, the case where they think again we could be in this correction for longer. Really, what we could see here too is if even if we are to form some type of local bottom, which I think will actually happen here, I think that is my base case again. A week or two of consolidation above the 60K low, and if we're able to get that, I think we could bounce higher. Really, the line in the sand where it's we really take this bounce seriously is if we are able to close back above that consolidation low at 84K, and recover that. Until then, there's always a strong chance that even if we do get a bounce, that it peters out. And then the real strong buys, if we were able to come back down one more time into the 50s, 60s, and at that point, I think that would be the final low. And that could probably come in, maybe June, July, sometime in the summer, would be ideal. But also there you have people like Marty, this guy here, who have this Wyckoff pattern drawn, and he thinks it's going to go down to all-time highs from here. Um, Really, the way I'm playing it again, guys, is what I'm doing either way is I'm continuing to accumulate Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and about 5 or 6 coins, about 7 other coins amongst the hypes. I think hype is an amazing buy right now. Um, even coins like Pump, because of one reason. These are coins that belong to applications that people are using, whether, in every whether Bitcoin and ETH are up or not, right? Whether Bitcoin's going up or not, people are using Hyperliquid to long, short, buy gold or long gold, long silver, all these different things. So coins like Hype, Pump, for example, which when the market does eventually bounce back, will have a pretty nasty flywheel, I think. Um, oh, I'm not sharing the screen. Uniswap, a few of these other coins, and then just coins like SPX, um, which again, even this one's back down to these levels down here. Coins like this that could slow down, but really what I'm doing regardless is accumulating Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and then really a lot of NFTs lately. Um, the V Friends series too. I made this post. Been continuing to collect, which is something that I've been doing the last few months, kind of while the market's been slowing down. I think the NFT market has a real potential shot to have a resurgence, or not just a resurgence, but where NFTs really have a lot of these brands like VeeFriends, for example, who are building collectible brands outside of the crypto world, I think are going to onboard a lot of people into digital collectibles. And so I've just been, collecting stuff like this, like VeeFriends, some physical stuff. But either way, just continuing to do what I do during the 2018, 2019 bear, this last bear that we had in 23, 24, is just buy the few great assets that I have strong conviction in, and then just not drive myself crazy. Not really biggest way you can drive yourself crazy in these markets. I feel like it's just over trading and then just getting so caught up in all these different opinions, right? Just first and foremost, have a longer term conviction in whatever your whatever it is, whether it be Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, NFTs, and just buy and hold, and then everything else, play with the smaller stuff with the smaller part of your portfolio. So let's see what oh, we have some questions in the chat. Can we look into ETH? Yeah, look at ETH right now. I think we did a second ago. He said maybe those with ability to move markets saw an opportunity to play on the 4-year cycle being adopted as a given and decided to push it down and then run it up once everyone is out. You have people always theorizing that the institutions, are flushing out the retail, so that they could buy up a bunch during these bear markets and then send it up. Well, whether, which we're going to get into that, which is going to be the meat and potatoes of the meat of the show here, is what exactly happened during that 10-10 time. And, either way, to answer your question, Gary, uh, there's a lot of truth to that, whether it's the institutions, purposely pushing the market down physically, or if they're just taking advantage of it. Is I do think that the institutions and all these people building these products, the BlackRocks and all these people, are not doing that to be able to sell it to other retail people. They're building it so that they can eventually onboard and bring in a lot of retail people to these products, right? Now that doesn't happen right away, but I think as the technology continues to grow, they're setting up these different products and buying and institutions and stuff during these times for a reason. To eventually, that when the retail people eventually do buy their bags, use the crypto products and all that. So I don't think that's accidental. If you guys could also like, comment, retweet, share. We're gonna go ahead and get into what in the world happened to crypto and why it got rinsed so hard. This is something I've been, thinking a lot about recently. And it's something that, I think that we don't know for sure, right? I saw this tweet from Flood, which kind of summed it up pretty good, and said by far the most vicious selling I've ever seen in crypto. It feels forced and indiscriminate. A few theories. It's a secret sovereign dumping 10 plus billion. Saudi, UAE, Russia, China. Exchange blow up, or exchange has had tens of billions of dollars of Bitcoin on the balance sheet, forced to sell for whatever reason. A large DECA sent a billionaire family facing liquidity crunch, or a hidden leverage in the IBIT ETF. Uh, to me, I think it's probably I want to know what you guys think in the chat. Let me know in the chat what you guys think is going to do. And again, we're going to do the USDC giveaway at the end of the stream here, and probably not the end. I'll do it in 30 minutes if you guys want to stick around again. If we're going to do it from the comments of the stream tweet as well. But what was I going to say? Oh, we'll talk about the Epstein stuff as well. I think it's super crazy. Um, yeah, we are. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm gonna go and retweet in a second. But I think what it's probably a mix of the both. I think what we're probably gonna end up seeing, and there probably is gonna be probably very likely an exchange blow up at the very least. Who could it be? I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be Binance or anybody big, but there's probably some kind of mid small level exchange that if they haven't already, are gonna be that whatever it's called, body that comes up. But if I had to guess, it's probably some kind of a mix of both of these. But I think what we're going to end up seeing on the other side of this, and what we see at the end of these bear markets, is when on the way down, these price moves they act as like a like a stress test. Exchanges get wiped out. People get in liquidity crunches. But and this opposite side, on the same token, uh, the other big billionaires and other exchanges and other you know funds come in and buy during these times, and then you on the opposite, when we go back up, you start to hear, this happened in 2020 and 2021. You would hear, on the way up, you'd hear Tesla and these different companies announce buys. I think that's the same thing that's going to happen on this next run. Is it's probably a mix of these both. Like I said, an exchange probably blew up. What's up? No. uh, but in a probably an exchange blow up, and then a mix of these few. But I think on the other side here, we're going to see a lot of these kind of things, but to the opposite, where we're going to hear billionaires announce buys and companies and uh, sovereign wealth funds and all that. So, what exactly happened? My guess is we're going to probably hear some kind of exchange or fund blew up, maybe something with the IBIT. Um, but either way, I think my view on this thing is short term. If Bitcoin can hold this low for multiple weeks, that would be the sign that it does have legs to move higher. Um, and that doesn't mean it has to chop sideways. It could just slowly chop up as well. But if we come back 2 weeks from now and we've held above this low, there's a very good shot that Bitcoin's going to continue to push up above 82K, above this bounce low is always, if we're to move above there, would always be a great sign that we're probably are going to move back to at least into the 90s. But what I would not be surprised to see as well is if we continue to chop up here and then peter out, get some consolidation, and then move back down one more time. To me, that would be where I would be, or would be adding a lot to, especially Bitcoin and ETH. If we somehow got a Bitcoin that's in the 60s, low 60s, the 50s, with all these ETFs and the dollar being debased and money printing and all these different things obviously coming, I think Bitcoin at 50, 60K is like a dream. But obviously, if that were to happen, I think that would probably come with the stock market also coming down, which I think is a real possibility if it is not able to clear this range. Um, but, you know, either way, whether, we do cross about this 81K low, which really the level I'm watching for, or we do peter back down one more time, it's just a matter of months before I think crypto's future is really in the most obvious place, um, obvious bullish place like it's ever been. Um, it's and it's funny how that comes with like the worst price sentiment ever. Um, but if you just zoom out and you look at all of the biggest institutions, you see the other day Besant, somebody asked about Jeffrey Epstein and Satoshi. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But Besant, for example, today said it is vital that the Clarity Act is signed into law. But also, he said this is I'm trying to find the quote. He said um, he said something about the crypto revolution. something. He said, "The digital asset revolution is here, and I'm confident that with leadership from both sides of the aisle, we can get this across the finish line." He's obviously talking about the market legislation, which is important, and I think those kind of things being figured out, like the legislation, the Clarity Act, during this time, is again setting up for crypto to see real adoption, and these kind of things. All the SEC, um, all the biggest regulators, pretty much saying all the markets of the world are going to go on chain. I think what it's going to lead to is just digital asset adoption with wallets and all these different things, which will eventually lead to Bitcoin, ETH, Sol moving higher, and then more people trading digital assets in general. The great meme coins, the great coins that have stick around during this time, um, I think are going to go on to new highs. Right, that's always the game during these times is just knowing, picking the right few assets that and just in taking an investor kind of mindset. But what do you think about Jeffrey Epstein as Satoshi? Yeah, that's crazy. I think that there is some obvious connections between um, between the Bitcoin. If you like read into a lot of the white paper or I'm sorry, a lot of these Epstein documents, um, there is evidence that does show that Epstein paid some of the people working on Bitcoin, right? Some of the core developers, which obviously would show that he knew that it was being worked on. But I don't think Epstein is Satoshi. I think maybe um, he was. Yeah, he like logs the guess to so obviously he's it. This would imply that he's in the know. That he was aware of the developments of Bitcoin and all that stuff, but I just don't think he's Satoshi. This is super interesting. Let me know in the chat if you guys been reading the Epstein documents. It's some of the most like I don't know. It's just insane. Just the most. Some of it's entertaining and some entertaining. Some of it's just nuts. But if without getting too crazy into it, we could get into it for like 30 minutes and go over all the examples. But like, I don't think Epstein is Satoshi, but there's definitely some evidence pointing to some connections and core developers, and it just makes you think like who really knew about Bitcoin and who was really involved. I don't know, but hopefully we rise again. But that Bren, what did you think caused it though? Yeah, so like I said a second ago, I think there is going to be some type of exchange or bigger fund. We're going to find out at some point whether they got completely wiped out or it's still being worked out. Hopefully, the worst case scenario is it's something like Binance, which obviously I wouldn't be like too crazy worried about like it setting us into some kind of 2 or 3 year bear market. In fact, if we look at when the FTX collapse happened, that was actually right about here in the markets. Oh, here, let me see. Right about here in the markets. I think actually the FTX crash created this last low, which then chopped sideways for about 2 or 3 months, and then the bear market low is in, and we never saw that low again in the last 4 years. So I think if we see something similar here, that's why I was saying I'd really like to see Bitcoin consolidate here for a couple weeks, because that's the name of the game for these lows, major highs and major lows, is you see the low put in and then you see consolidation and holding that low for multiple weeks, sometimes multiple months. And if it's able to shift off of that low after that, then it usually creates a bigger reversal. So that's kind of what I'm really looking at for Bitcoin. Again, it could even if it chopped down a little bit, that even be a little bit more bullish. Um, but same kind of thing. We want to see multiple weeks of us holding this 61K low to really look for a bigger push higher and really take it from there. And again, we don't really have to guess. And it's fun to guess when the bull market or the bear market low is going to be. I've just learned to again take it for those core principles again of the consolidations, different stuff, and then take it by year. I do think there is a chance that a number of things could push us back into kind of a more bull run from here, right? There's always a possibility that this is some kind of freak like random type of correction that's a 50% correction in the middle of a bull market for Bitcoin. But I think there's so many other different things in all other markets, other things pointing to the possibility that we could be in this for a little bit longer. Um, but again, it's just a matter of months. If you're in this to either as a long-term investor or somebody who is just in crypto for the long term to build a build a brand, build some kind of company, or even just as like a trader wants to continue to stick around in crypto, um, these you should treat it as just a you shouldn't sweat it either way. Like to me, I would love for this to bottom out here in the next few weeks and us just rip back above 81K. Um, but if it doesn't, and we're here for another 3 or 4 months, then so be it. It's just a matter of time. And if anything, we get some lower prices to buy in at. But yeah, if anybody who's looking kind of where's Bitcoin going to go from here, I'd like to see holding the 61K couple weeks, whether it just be chopping up or sideways, and let it do its thing. But Tom Lee tweeted a pretty good insight into what happened. Was that today? Let's look. Oh, I need to retweet this stream too, real quick. Um, but let me know in the chat, guys. First of all, if this is your first time in the stream, and then second, let me know if where you're tuning in from as well. I'm gonna do the USDC giveaway, the 200 USDC giveaway towards the end of the stream here, or in about 20 minutes from now. Yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to do. We're live. All right, perfect. I feel like there's going to be an event that like Cowan talked about, similar to the FTX event. That's usually, like I said, these moves down or these just periods in general in crypto usually act as stress tests. We see it every time. Meaning people, and it just leads to the fact that people get super over leveraged or they just get super euphoric on the way up. Um, and then on the way down, people don't plan for things, whether it just be companies that didn't have runways to pay people. You see companies go out of business, exchanges go down. You see people who were too over leveraged in the past. We saw Three Arrows Capital. We saw a bunch of exchanges go down and stuff. That's usually what happens during these moves down. And I think that's why a lot of people are confused. They're like, okay, we got wiped out 50% on Bitcoin. And usually in the past, we would have known, okay, it's because Three Arrows Capital went down, or it's because Celsius went up, or whatever it may be. But this time, that's why everybody's like kind of waiting for like the shoe to drop. But like I said, these stress tests happen. Doesn't matter if it's 2026, 2000. I'm sure in the .com crash, there was a bunch of companies. I think 98% of companies went out of business. Most of them are not here to this day, obviously. But what matters is the great assets in the industry as a whole. I think is just in the most obvious bullish place in general. Like it's made it in the sense that digital assets I think are going to be a huge part of everyday life, and that doesn't mean everything's going to go up. But I think digital adoption of Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, the assets that these different applications are being built on, especially like the L1s, the Sols, and the ETHs, over the next few years, I think is just crazy prices right now that we're getting. So yeah, that's just the mindset I'm taking, especially from somebody like you guys know I like to speculate on price, and I will continue doing that because I think it's something I like doing, and it's something I do think I have an edge in over the higher time, or over the long term. But either way, I think the mindset to have, at least for me, is just play it by ear, see how these things move, but then also just have a higher time horizon. I think Bitcoin on this next run too really could the way I see it is Bitcoin is doing right now what the stock market did in like 1997, where it went crazy and then came back down for, in this case, a couple years. I don't think this rundown for Bitcoin is going to be a couple years. I think it's going to be, that's why I said speed run. I think, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever it may be. The reason I liken it to the dot com bubble crashing and then kind of the run after that is because what happened after the dot com bubble crash, you saw all these different internet companies, um, Amazon, Google, what's it called? Amazon, Google, Nvidia, any of these companies, if you would have bought them after that dot com crash where everybody wasn't paying attention, where everybody's like, oh yeah, these companies, if they didn't make it in the dot com bubble, they're not going to make it now. If you would have bought any of these companies and held for 10, 15, 20 years, you're up 100, 200x. You hear these stories of so many people who just built insane, you know, generational wealth from just buying and holding these assets. The new version of that, I think, is buying and holding ETH, Bitcoin, Sol, maybe Tau, some of these other really big tokens. Those are going to be the next 10, 20, 30, 40 year like buy and hold investment type of things. So, and with that, every time we see Bitcoin, ETH, Sol go up, we see the different speculative markets also have a lot of life. I think prediction markets, meme coins, even on-chain trading for sure, whether that's mostly in meme coins or whatever the form that may take. I think we're just like the internet. We were just a little bit too early, 6 months, a year too early for the mainstream to really catch on. But I think that's coming still, again, because of the trends and the stuff outside of the price. But I think we just got to be a bit patient here. So fuck it. I'm gonna continue to do these streams. I'm gonna continue to have guests on like Greeny and Craig next week, interview and talk to a lot of other great people. And again, just in my past experience, you hear it's so cliche, like, oh, stick around, touch grass, whatever. I think the mix, just having a mix of touching grass, like not driving yourself crazy every day, focus on building a business, a hobby. For me, I'm really getting serious about my health, and I really have for the last year. I've been working out consistently for a while and everything like that, but just really get that dialed and nutrition and everything, along with some traveling and other things. But whatever it may be for you, focus on that while also keeping your eye on the ball. Pick a few creators that you love learning from, whether myself and these streams and where we hang out or whoever else, Benjamin. There's a bunch of great guys out there who are continuing to push. So yeah, I think we look out in 2 or 3 years from now, and it's just going to be obvious where the great digital assets are, and I think NFTs are a big part of that too, which we'll talk about here in a sec. Your calming words are worth more than $200. Thanks, bro. Henry White, why don't you stream on Kick? That's a good question, bro. I need to start doing that. Kick or Twitch. Some analysis on Sol, please. Yeah. Sol, same kind of thing as Bitcoin and ETH. This bounce is serious for sure. Don't get me wrong. It's what is this? 25, 30% bounce. But in order for us to really take this bounce seriously for like a longer term bottom that could take us, a little bit higher, is if it would held this low at a 67 for maybe a couple weeks, right? Like if we come back here in a couple weeks, 2 weeks from now, and we're still holding this low at 83, I think it's a good sign for that that we push higher. So, other than that, again, that's probably the most likely scenario. Whether we just chop sideways for a bit or it continuously chops up and we come back in 2 weeks from now and it's at like 93, 94. But yeah, I think this bounce probably continues in the short term, and we really have to evaluate if it can close back above 120. We push up super hard. We see super big green candles here on Sol, and then maybe there's some type of big announcement like, I don't know, Russia and Ukraine, um, peace treaty or some type of big Bitcoin buy from some company, just something people are not expecting, then of course we could push up higher. But I'm just taking it by year. I think we are going to get some type of hold above this high on 67, 68. And if we come back a week or two from now here and we still have not broken below 69, I think we can continue to push up and at least bounce for the foreseeable future. At that point, of course, there's going to be new opportunities and a lot of the on chain stuff. I've been paying attention and looking at some of this stuff. It's actually incredible to see White Whale bounce back out of this low here. Let me know in the chat if you guys are still holding White Whale. Obviously, this is one of our best plays in the stream here over last year. Right at the end there, we did catch it at 3.5 million. For me, I sold about 60% on the way up here, and then now I'm holding still 30% of my bag. I haven't about 35% of my bag. I haven't touched any of it since then. Maybe in hindsight, I should have added here at 25, 26, but this looks pretty good. If it can clear this high here, especially if the majors chop up, what you really want to see is obviously it clears high, but I can see it can continue to see it chop up in the foreseeable future. I think a lot of this is supply control and a pretty strong community, obviously. So, but I don't know. I expect if Bitcoin and ETH and Sol do bounce here, you're probably going to get a bounce in a lot of different coins. You can do that with that what you will. Are you going to play the short term bounces on these? Me personally, I'm just taking an investor kind of approach here. The 5 to 10 coins I really believe in, I'm adding to slowly. Like something like SPX. It's one of the few meme coins that I'm really adding to strongly. And I'm just buying slowly here. Of course, it is at 275 mil here. But if somehow we come down to 200, 225, 185, I'm just going to continue to add slowly, and because I do think it does bounce back with Bitcoin like it has the other times. So you saw that the news of the U.S. loaded up on the Bitcoin reserve. I think that was a rumor, right? Jim Cramer claims Trump team bought Bitcoin at 60K. Yeah, I did see that. Jim Cramer confirms Trump is buying Bitcoin for the U.S. Strategic Reserve during this week's crash. I heard at 60K is going to fill the Bitcoin reserve. I did see that from Jim Cramer. Now, that's one of the things. Shout out to Dog Dad. That's one of the things that if they were to announce some type of buy from the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, could shock everybody and then be the thing that pushes Bitcoin, way higher, right? So if you guys are still in here with me, please like, comment, retweet, share. Right now we're going over some stuff in the chat, talking a little bit about some stuff. If you we're looking at some charts on some coins that if Bitcoin does bounce back here, probably going to run it back. At least have some good bounces. Hype is crazy that it's still continuing to hold steady here. Why is this lagging? Why is this lagging? That's not right. Anyway, let's see here. Just a theory, crypto's getting regularized and the big orgs are pushing it down so they can buy. Yeah, I mean, whether that's intentional and they're actually pushing prices down with some type of black magic or whatever, whether they're pushing it down purposely or they're just taking advantage of the market coming down, I agree that is what smart buyers do during these times. Do you really think the Epstein committed suicide or was he let out? I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't. You think you see? I think there's documents in there that people are saying points to him hiring one of the security guards to, having some kind of connection with one of the security guards that was working there, and then they had footage of the hall or whatever where he was being kept, and then they like skip 7 hours or something. It's like, who knows? Is that pointing to him being alive, or is the whole thing just they're showing us whatever they want to see? Who knows with these kind of things, right? I think it's entertaining for sure. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Do you think Epstein and is Satoshi? What do you think the connection is? If Epstein was Satoshi, Trump would be distancing himself as far as he could from crypto. Yeah, that's interesting. A lot of people think. I mean, there's connections with Epstein and Trump at some point too. So who knows? Let's form a bottom here. Bottom here. Yeah, that'd be nice. You need some yo mama advice ASAP. If all the Bitcoin Epstein FUD may be bullish for an alt season, it's possible. Again, where an alt season or some type of run could happen or some type of new narrative could pop up is if Bitcoin were to hold a low or something for a couple weeks or a couple months. These narratives usually don't pop up when Bitcoin's moving down, and usually even when it's moving up. Usually it's when it's moving sideways. So it's always possible that if Bitcoin does consolidate for 2, 3, 4 weeks, that there's some kind of new meta that pops up. But other than that, yeah, it's always possible. You never there hasn't been one like a new meta or whatever that's lasted more than a couple weeks this year. But we'll see. W from the Telegram and from Morocco. W Telegram, by the way, learning a lot from it. Thanks, man. You still buying Mog? Yeah, I'm buying a bit of Mog. Could all the Bitcoin Epstein FUD be bullish for alts? I don't know if it's the Epstein stuff's bullish for alts, but what's good, Carl? How you doing? If from what I feel, the next major support is at 48 to 50. If we did get there, all I know is I would be buying a lot of Bitcoin and ETH. Call me crazy, but what if we happen to get a stimulus check? Yeah, remember Trump was talking about that, but yeah, I don't know. Tax returns don't hurt usually. Yo, Brent, how you been? Update on Wojak. I've been doing well, man. It's been a crazy, interesting time. A lot of us again, 81K. I thought we might have held that and at least rallied to into the hundreds, but we broke down 81, and it's been a hectic last few weeks, but we're here. Overall, I'm doing well though. Thanks for asking. Wojak, I really like Wojak. Kind of the Wojak chart looks a lot better. Sorry, let me pull it up. The Wojak chart looks a lot better than most meme coins right now. I'll tell you that much. Why is it not loading Wojak? So Wojak, what I really like about Wojak is this consolidation for 2 weeks here. You see how it's held this low 2 or 3 times and chopped down every single time. And what is it doing now? It looks like it's shifting up a bit. And what happens with these consolidations, especially after they failed to break lower 3 different times, kind of forming a lower or higher low every time. I think there's a shot that Wojak, if it can clear back, especially at 15, 16, could take off. This setup, if it was in any other Bitcoin, ETH, Sol environment, I would feel very, very bullish on this setup again because of this 2 or 3 week consolidation. And again, if we can push above 17 mil, I think Wojak has a potential to go on I don't know if a white whale type run, but like as in how white whale kind of moved when nothing else moved. Wojak could do that again based on the chart, but it's going to need a move above 18 mil to do that. So we're not there yet. That's still going to need like a 2x push, but I think it's possible. Yeah, you thought here. Just noticed on timeline some of these bears are anti-crypto people wearing a bear mask. Yeah. I think the theories out there is that and where I think some people are overthinking it potentially. And again, everybody who's sharing and liking and commenting on the stream, I really appreciate it. It's cool to see everybody who's still sticking around and hanging out, especially on a Saturday. Let me know what you guys are doing today, what you guys are doing for the Super Bowl and everything. Just notice on the timeline some of these bears are anti. Yeah, I think the biggest misunderstanding. A lot of people think that we already saw the Trump coin. We already saw um, all of this hype and stuff around crypto, and they assume there needs to be continuous bigger hype events and bigger people joining and all of that. And I think what's going to drive crypto higher on this next run is the thing that everybody's been waiting for 10 years is adoption, like people actually using the applications, institutions actually having big funds and sovereign wealth funds buying it, crypto kind of being legitimized in the mainstream. And I know in the short term that doesn't do a lot for people's meme coin bags and whatever else they're holding or trading, but I think eventually it does just put more attention on those other things. So yeah, I think adoption is what's going to drive this next leg, and hopefully it's in more of a couple months or 6 months or whatever it may be. And it obviously starts sooner than later, but I think on this next leg there's just so much evidence to point over the next few years that crypto and digital assets and everything are really going to make a mainstream push. And I think even a mainstream push in the participants coming in. You ever considered streaming on Twitch? Yeah, I think I'm going to do that here soon with either Twitch or Kick. Let me know in the chat which one of you guys use more, Kick or Twitch. Master looks cooked. Honestly, Master does look cooked, but if you're talking about, again, long term time horizon, who knows what happens exactly over the next few months. Um, Master MicroStrategy, if you believe that Bitcoin is going to bounce back over the next few years, you think that in 2028 that Bitcoin's higher from here, then I think MicroStrategy might be a great buy right here. If you can, again, buy and hold spot, waiting 3 to 6 months, however long this takes to play out. Um, MicroStrategy is a bet on Bitcoin. It's a leverage bet on Bitcoin, and it goes, especially as they buy more Bitcoin during these times. They literally are selling the stock to buy more Bitcoin. The harder MicroStrategy is going to go up when Bitcoin goes back up. So while there's a lot of risk to come with it, obviously, and everybody's going to say whatever, I think MicroStrategy can withstand multiple years of Bitcoin staying down like this, even if it did, and still be fine. I think they're capitalized so well. And if you do believe that Bitcoin is going to bounce back in the next few years, I think this is a good buy and hold, especially if you haven't been buying up here and you're just starting to buy now, already down 80%. Uh, you know, I don't know. I think MicroStrategy might be a good buy and hold long term. GM Brand, what's up, Osama? How you doing, man? What are your benefits of using a log chart? So, um, the log charts show a it's it's an easier way to see these higher time frame corrections. It puts it in a better perspective. If you're used to the lower time frames and you're looking at pivots on the super low time frames, it doesn't matter much. But when you're looking at these higher time frame charts, it puts it into perspective more and actually shows the actual percentages of the move. Like right now, you can tell this is 123K. If you were to use the non-log chart, for example, let me move this out of the way. If you're able to use the non-log chart, if I turn off the log chart, this move makes it look like we're almost all the way back down to 24K when we're really up 3x above it. It just gives me a better perspective in short of the higher time frame charts. It's just really preference to me. Again, when I'm looking at the weekly and the daily, it gives me a better perspective of the corrections. Liked and commented, bro Chacho. I appreciate that. Satoshi was on the island hiding. Yeah, that's where he's at. Don't go too deep into the rabbit hole. Yeah, I think it's really all intriguing. The Epstein case led to read up. Yeah, Algeria crypto's banned. How's crypto banned there? You can't buy or sell it at all. I see it all on my feed. DCA a lot myself. Yeah. Thank you, Holy Father. Appreciate it. Yeah, Polymarket getting higher searches than exchanges. Kick is better. Twitch would be fire. Kick pays better. Acting on it. Yo, what's up, MX? How you doing? Sup, Brand? Super whalish on the white whale. Literally battling market manipulation on chain. Hell yeah. Thoughts on using Klarna and investing in crypto? Oh man. I don't know about Klarna because like the rates are crazy on that, but I will say like if you have, I don't know, but borrowing money, you never want to borrow any type of money that would just put you in an insane amount of debt or like just crazy interest rates or anything like that. But I've seen people who, like take loans out with their bank at like really low interest rates or whatever it may be to buy something like Bitcoin during these times where they're down 50, 60% and, whatever like that. But other than that, Klarna, that sounds crazy. I think Klarna, what the interest rates on that are, you're looking at 20, 30%, something like that. So, um, yeah, I wouldn't do Klarna, but that's funny. Caught it at 5K market cap. See that Rothschild's coin? No. Rothschild. Why is it? Um, no, I didn't see it. Oh, is it because there's a Epstein document for it. Hey, I appreciate you clipping that, bro. Anybody who wants to clip any of the stream, I'll always like, comment, retweet, follow, all that good stuff. So appreciate everybody commenting on this as well. You guys are the best. Mm, let me see here. I'm done playing with leverage, let alone Klarna. Yeah, Klarna's crazy crypto. But yep, we're obviously in the weekend. Especially these slow times. Usually, you're just going to see Bitcoin, everything be pretty slow. That's actually, like I went over earlier on in the show, would be a bullish sign. If we want Bitcoin to move up, we want to see this low hold. Um, Also, the potential that it comes back down and forms a double bottom at that, something like this, something like this, where Bitcoin, just plays around like that and then moves up. But really, the trigger is if we come back 1, 2, 3 weeks from now and Bitcoin still hasn't taken out 61K. I think there's a good shot, whether we're right here or we're down here. I think there's a good shot that we do use this potentially as a base to move higher. Other than that, um, just let this thing play out. And 81K, if we were to go back above there, that's really where we start to take this move seriously. But I don't think don't have to overcomplicate it. Find the few coins that you continue to like, whether that be the majors. You can't go wrong with Bitcoin, ETH, Sol down 50% here. Maybe dip in a little bit to the hypes. For me, the revenue coins like the hypes, the Asters, Uniswap, Pump, some of the token works coins, the Punksters, whatever. Find a 3 to 5 coins that you like, buy them. Watch the few creators that you like, continue to learn about what's going on around the space. And yeah, that's what's worked for me every single one of these bear markets. And it just seems like in crypto, every time it's like, all the action happens in a few years or a few months or a few weeks. And there's a lot of times like this, but yeah, I'm going to continue to do the streams and everything. And I appreciate everybody for hanging out. Carl, let me know where you're at in the world, bro. You're in the US, right? But let's see. I am going to go ahead and pick up. I'm going to pick two winners of the giveaway here right now. Let me see. First winner, I just picked here randomly, Roliando. Congratulations to you, sir. I'll go ahead and shoot me your Sol address. I'll go ahead and shoot that to you after the stream. Let's see. And then let's see. Let me see. Let's see. Here, sorry. I lost the place. Let's see. All right, and the winner is, let's see, Flux. I got Flux Trades here. Congratulations. Shot you a follow back as well. But yeah, Flux Trades, congratulations. You won the USDSC as well. Wojak, actually, now you brought it to my attention, does actually look really good. I did buy some down here. I'll probably buy a bit more, but yeah, I appreciate everybody for hanging out on stream. I'll be back here on Tuesday with Greeny and Craig. Probably do another giveaway as well. Try to push those while the market's down, and to hopefully give some of the homies here in the chat some capital to play with. But I appreciate everybody for being on here. Um, Again, I know these times can be, monotonous to say the least, but I'm telling you, the little work that you put in every day and just watching streams, learning, you know, maybe playing around in the on chain stuff if there's something that you think has a chance, just staying sharp in the markets, just like any other skill, I think is key. So I appreciate everybody who's sticking around, came out and spend your time with me here. Like I said, be back on Tuesday. What's up, Rojan? Appreciate you, brother. Nice to see you here. And I hope everybody has a good weekend, Super Bowl Sunday. And everybody stay safe. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Make sure to follow also the Instagram, TikTok, YouTube as well in the top right. And I appreciate everybody for being here. I'll see you on Tuesday. Peace.